See now stories of infidelity and stories of betrayal. Today I feel the need to share something that has been tormenting me. I finally gathered the courage to face this confession that, until now, I had been putting off. After a seemingly peaceful dinner, where the presence of one of my husband's friends caught my attention in an unexpected way, I was forced to make a decision that challenged my principles. The forbidden idea began to take shape in my mind until, days later, I could not resist the temptation to explore what seemed like an undeniable desire. What followed that choice is not something you can imagine. To find out all the details of this story, I invite you to stay until the end. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to keep up with our daily stories. Now, allow yourself to dive into this narrative with me. The truth is, as I sit alone in my room, reflecting on the events that have unfolded, I try to understand the impact of these decisions on my life. It all started on a seemingly normal evening when my husband, Alberto, announced that he was bringing a friend home. I had never seen this friend in person, but Alberto's description portrayed him as a man of striking presence, with an imposing physique and an aura that aroused curiosity. Alberto has always been a sociable, generous, and well-connected man, so I was not surprised by the idea of having a visitor. However, there was something peculiar in the way he mentioned the visit, a strange glint in his eyes that aroused in me a feeling of unease. As I prepared dinner, the feeling of unease persisted, an inexplicable restlessness that seemed to hang in the air, like a portent of something that was about to happen. When the doorbell finally rang, my heart skipped a beat. Upon opening the door, I found Alberto and his friend, a man named Horacio, who was about to cross the threshold of our house and, unintentionally, alter the course of that evening. The man who entered our home was imposing, but there was something unsettling in his eyes, a dark gleam that seemed to conceal a dark, malicious depth. This channel is dedicated to bringing you new stories every day, and today's promises to be particularly revealing. Horacio, as I saw him in the photos, was exactly as I imagined, a figure shrouded in mystery, with secrets that promised to be revealed in time. His presence began to infiltrate my life in ways I couldn't anticipate, shaping my destiny in ways I didn't yet understand. Throughout dinner, I struggled to maintain my composure, trying to look like the perfect hostess despite the nervousness that continued to plague me. But I couldn't ignore Horacio's piercing gaze, as if he were examining every detail of me, searching for something I hadn't yet revealed. Horacio's presence was like a silent shadow, hovering over the table and casting a veil of tension over the night. After dinner, Alberto suggested we play cards, in an attempt to lighten the stuffy atmosphere and promote a moment of relaxation. As the evening progressed, however, Horacio's presence became increasingly oppressive. Every time I approached the table, I couldn't ignore the way Horacio adjusted his position, his hands moving between his legs with disturbing purpose. His gaze, hot and penetrating, seemed to consume me invisibly, as if evaluating my every move with disconcerting intensity. Despite my efforts to focus on the game and ignore the discomfort, the sense of his presence was overwhelming, a lingering shadow that seemed to envelop us and dominate the surroundings. As the hours passed, the atmosphere around us became filled with a palpable tension. Every laugh, every movement, seemed to be imbued with a strange energy, as if we were on the edge of a dangerous precipice, about to face something undefined and disturbing. The atmosphere became increasingly stifling, an anticipation of something I couldn't identify, but which made me deeply uncomfortable. As the clock pointed to the approach of night, Alberto suggested that it was time for Horacio to leave. Momentary relief washed over me as I imagined the peace that would come with the departure of his piercing gaze and the dark intentions he seemed to have. The thought of being alone with my husband again brought me a brief sigh of relief. As he stood to leave, however, Horacio gave me a look I couldn't quite decipher. It was a fleeting glimpse of something primal and dark, a repressed and almost wild longing, as if he were about to leave something deep and unwanted behind. At that moment, I knew my intuition was sharp. Something sinister was lurking in the way Horacio looked at me, something that went beyond simple friendship with my husband. The uneasiness intensified when Horacio made a disturbing suggestion that Alberto, in front of me, give me my phone number so I could be contacted in case of emergency. I tried to resist, but Horacio's insistence was unwavering and Alberto ended up giving in and giving him my number. The feeling that nothing good could come from this exchange of information was overwhelming. After that night, the uneasiness persisted. A few days passed and, while the feeling of uneasiness seemed to fade, an unexpected message arrived on my WhatsApp, coming from Horacio. The anxiety reappeared, and I knew that what was coming would not be easy to face. When I received Horacio's message, I imagined that I would talk about work issues with my husband. However, what followed was exactly the opposite of what I expected. Horacio greeted me with unexpected kindness and a friendly tone, seeking to engage in a conversation that quickly became intimate and personal. I won't deny it. I responded in a way that gave the impression we had known each other for years. Horacio apologized for his behavior during the visit to my house, explaining that he was facing family difficulties that tormented him constantly. He noticed my discomfort and was worried that I might be making hasty judgments about him. Horacio revealed that he was deeply impressed with my house and praised Alberto, saying that my husband was really lucky to have me. He then said that I was not only a beautiful and attentive wife, but also charismatic, with a body that, according to him, any man would love to admire and have. Horacio's words perplexed me. He seemed to have gone from being someone who was hiding something to a surprisingly docile and kind person. This disconcerting contrast made no sense to me, but as the days passed, our conversations became more and more intense and personal. I have always been faithful to my husband, Alberto. Since our marriage, I had never spoken intimately with other men. However, something significant was about to happen, something I had never imagined in my married life. By chance, Alberto had to travel out of town for work, and it was strange that Horacio was not present. Then Horacio asked me if he could come to my house to say hello. Without hesitation, I accepted the invitation, feeling a mixture of curiosity and uneasiness. I imagined that Horacio's visit would be a simple hello, a banal gesture without any major implications. However, when I saw him arrive, I noticed a different sparkle in his eyes, a look filled with a deep and forbidden desire. The atmosphere that surrounded us seemed charged with an inexplicable electricity, an ecstasy that I did not want to tear myself away from. Stay with us until the end of this story, as every detail is essential to understand what is to come. Horacio seemed to feel the same tension as me. Suddenly, we found ourselves immersed in a moment we could not reverse. The connection between us intensified in an unexpected and intense way. Despite the betrayal this represented for my husband, I found myself consumed by uncontrollable desire. Every touch, every movement was a mix of pleasure and guilt, and I desperately longed for more. Horacio's presence, his strong, imposing body, lifted me to a sense of ecstasy, taking me to new heights of pleasure I had never known. With each word he repeated, a growing unease formed within me. I questioned my husband's suitability for someone with the passion and desire I felt. Horacio, with his magnetic presence and touch of the forbidden, had awakened in me a connection I had forgotten was possible. The need I felt seemed to fill a deep, long-forgotten void. After that encounter with Horacio, nothing was the same again. The desire I had for my husband began to dissipate, replaced by a dissatisfaction he noticed. He noticed changes in me, a discontent that he didn't know how to explain. I never mentioned Horacio, the friend I once suspected of hiding dark secrets, but paradoxically, he became the only person capable of satisfying my deepest desires. As I sit here, alone in the silence of my room, I can't shake the intense feeling Horacio left in me. The revelation of what he wanted and what he planned with his twisted mind remains vivid in my memory. The malicious look he gave that night and what we did afterwards are impressions that will never be erased. The feeling of being under your relentless scrutiny constantly invades me, and the echo of your presence still resonates in my thoughts. As I delve deeper into this forbidden relationship with Horacio, I feel like I am flirting with danger. The consequences of my actions are not only a threat to me, but also to my husband and everyone around me. Is it worth risking everything for moments of ephemeral pleasure? This is the question that torments me as I balance between seduction and responsibility, between desire and reason. On the other hand, the emotional connection and intensity of my feelings for Horacio are impossible to ignore. I wonder if this bond is meant to be consolidated, despite the challenging circumstances and the possible devastating consequences that could ensue. Should I fight these impulses and recommit to my marriage, even if it means repressing my deepest desires? These questions haunt me during my sleepless nights and moments of solitary reflection. I am at a moral crossroads, unsure of which path to choose. One thing is certain, every decision I make will have ramifications not only for my life, but also for those around me. To this day, this doubt remains with me and will probably accompany me until the end of my days. Tell us in the comments if someone has ever surprised you more than your own partner, breaking the monotony. Subscribe, like, and share with your loved ones. Remember, we upload videos every day. Thank you for being here and see you in the next story. Bye.